Hello, Vol Nation. Welcome to another episode of Believe in Tennessee Football. I'm your host, as always, Kyler Kerberson, also with Reed Bacon. Today's a fun one. We're getting to break down the orange and white game, exactly what we saw out there, what we think the offense is going to look like, defense is going to look like moving into the season. We go through every single position, how they performed, and what we liked out there. Just positive vibes, maybe going after this game. So super excited for this one. So let's start the show.
By the game. Snap. The kick is in the air, and the kick this time is no, sir-ree. No, sir-ree. Final score: Tennessee 20, Florida 17. Pandemonium reigns.
Loads up, fires long for the end zone. The pass is going to be caught by Tennessee. Tennessee wins! Caught by Tennessee. Jawan Jennings. Jennings makes the catch in the end zone on the Hail Mary.
Down at the 35, to the 40, to the 45, to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. What did he do? All he did was score. Joey Pence, touchdown on play number 1.
All right, so before we jump into the show, we got to start with our presenting sponsor, Bet Online. So I know March Madness is over, but you still got the NBA, you got NHL going on right now, so there's plenty of things to be betting on, and Bet Online is the place to do it. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. It has you covered with all the news, the scores, the odds, and it's the best way to place your bets, and it's free to sign up. So head to the website betonline.ag or use your mobile device and sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. I am so excited for our newest sponsor, Monster Bass. Monster Bass is a fun and affordable way to get the best new baits from the fishing industry's top brands delivered to your door each month. It's a premium subscription fishing company that handpicks the best baits based on where you live and where you fish. So no more guessing on which baits are going to work, and just leave it to the pros at Monster Bass. Basically, it's like having your own personal fishing guide, and it's changing the way bass fishermen shop for baits. They're quickly becoming the #1 fishing brand of anglers everywhere. They've got the best baits, the best brands, and you're covered by the industry's best customer service. So if you want to catch bigger bass this season, head over to monsterbass.com and use the code VOLS10, VOLS 10, and get $10 off your first box. Sign up for Monster Bass now.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Got my buddy Reed here. We're going to be breaking down the orange and white game. What a great experience to be able to actually see the Josh Heupel offense in full force, see the whole team out there, get a good look at some guys, and be able to break it down for you. We want to give you our perspective on stuff and let you know what we thought. First, to start out, I am very excited that the gray jerseys are back. I absolutely love them. I thought even with white helmets and white pants, they looked sick. And then Reed, obviously your favorite, the Stormtroopers.
What's up, playa? Y'all want to buy some drugs? Dude, the all whites are so clean. They are so nasty. I love when people were rocking those with either the white tights into the spat or the scrunchy white socks in the spat. I mean, we were looking fresh out there. I loved it. And the grays were nice to see. I thought that was a good idea for the quarterbacks to wear those.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, they got to wear a different color anyway, so might as well just get them the grays. And I really do hope we wear grays in the season because I don't know why people wouldn't like them.
I really want to see the black again. I love that. I actually, to be honest with you, I didn't really like the black, but whatever.
It just looked weird with the white helmets and orange pants.
Yeah, it was kind of lame. But, we dominated South Carolina that night, so whatever. We'll take it.
Yeah, you gotta take it as it goes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to go by position. We're going to offense and defense. I know you're excited about this because we had talked about it before, but you wanted to shout out your MVP of the game.
There was no way that I could start. There's no way I could start on any other person besides player of the game, Jack Jancic. And real quick, I don't even know if the story actually really came out because I got confused. And what I got confused about is when after we went to the closed practice, you and I, we did like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And what we did is we did every position offense, every position defense. Well, then we had technical difficulties. It cut off. And so, like, I kind of was shouting him out, but, like, I couldn't remember if it was, like, if we'd already said it in the defensive part or if I talked about offensive part or if I talked about it both. I don't know. It all was run together.
Yes.
But to see Jack go out there and ball like that yesterday was so awesome. But the story was, real quick, is so Kyler was off watching the offensive line or defensive line or whatever. I was watching one-on-ones. And I see Jack Jancic, and he's just out there, like, working some people. And then he goes up against Tank McCullough, who, I mean, Tank's a really good player. He's going to be one of our leaders on defense. And they were battling, and they were going, but Jack went and made a really nice play on him. I'm like, okay, all right then. And then, like, then there was another one where it was like it wasn't one-on-ones, but it was another kind of drill that Heupel had him doing. It was like 2v2, 3v3 type deal. And Jancic comes back. It's like a deep out or a deep comeback. It's not that great of a throw. He goes up, he gets it, he taps one foot, drags the other one. And it was just really impressive. And I was like, dadgum. And so you come over and I'm like, bro, little Jancic over here balling on some people. And you're like, really? And then
so
about that time.
Yeah, so I go up to him and smack him in the ass.
Yeah.
I'm like, heard you're balling out here.
Yeah, he does like something else, and you go up and bump him and smack him on his ass, and it's like, what's up, baby? I heard you out here balling, and he turns around, and it is really funny. And but he was like, yeah, because these guys are trash. And so I remember just being like, well, I hope they're not trash because I want to be pretty good. But it was awesome to see. And then even on the other podcast, I kind of told that story, but then made the comment like, hey, I don't think he'll be playing on Saturdays. But after what I saw yesterday, I was like, I mean, he made me eat my words. Like, why shouldn't he play? You know,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it was awesome to see. I love seeing that. You know, I knew Zach, his older brother, because he played with, basically my younger brother, Logan Lacey at Catholic. And so I was around Zach a lot. He was a great kid. I thought he was a really good quarterback at Catholic. And then wasn't around Brock much, but then getting to watch Jack play some when he was at quarterback at Catholic. I've always liked him. And actually Coach Jancic was so great to me. Whenever he was around Knoxville Catholic, we'll just say this, Butch, if Butch was ever there, he was like up in the stands with his like policemen, or like he was way away from other people thinking he was like the man, like, bro, sweet, you're a loser. Like, no one wants your autograph here. But then like John Jancic would be walking around eating popcorn, talking to everybody, just super down to earth, like just being a dad. And so that was great. So I've always liked the Jancic family. I even told you I was hoping that he would get the defensive coordinator position here. Not only because I like him, but also I think he's a good defense coordinator. But anyways, yeah, I love seeing Jack do that yesterday. And the funny thing is he seems like the kid that he ain't going to let like any of this like really bother him or get to him. He's just going to like show up and do his work, like, just keep trying to work and be good. But anyways, we had to start there.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. Jancics are awesome. Their whole family's great. And it's always great to see some Catholic alumni just balling out there. And there's actually quite a few people that have come from Catholic and gone through Tennessee. So it's kind of cool just to keep seeing that trend happen. So yeah, definitely excited for Jack. And I think everyone else was like a little surprised by that, but the people who know Jack are like, heck yeah, man, that is exactly what I wanted to see.
Like I said, I should have trusted my eyes. I mean, we sat there and watched him at practice.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely working, folks. And I made that comment like, well, I don't see him playing on Saturdays. And it wasn't an indictment on him. It's more because he was younger. And I think our receivers, there are some really good talented receivers. But as we mentioned, heck, we don't even – I mean, with Heupel's offense, like, I think he can get some production out of a lot of folks.
Yeah, I don't think it matters, who you are, but yeah. All right. So we'll go into the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, we should probably start with the, big question over this whole offseason, the quarterbacks. So all three got to play, got good playing time with different, I would say, groups, because how the game started, Maurer starting off first, he had the second or third string offensive line with him. And then Hooker got the first string offensive line with him. Bailey got the second or third. So they got to switch out with different offenses. But overall, honestly, in my opinion, I think I'm still going to pick Maurer. I thought Bailey played great. I thought he did some amazing things, and his deep ball is out of this world. I mean, he's has an amazing deep ball, good touch, pretty throws out there. But I just feel as if Maurer is more of the complete package. Maurer still has a deep ball like Bailey, but can move a little bit better than Bailey. And I just think if you're the complete package, if you have a little bit of everything, it's better than just having one aspect of your game that's very good. And Hooker, on the other hand, I think he dropped himself down in the depth chart. I think he's number 3 now. He had that interception. I mean, the one drive where he got in, his first drive, and they went down and scored, the only bad plays they had were bad throws by him. So I just don't see him being a part of this offense moving forward.
Well, I'll disagree in the fact that I think he'll still be a part of the offense, and I'm not ready to write him off just yet. There's a long way to go. But let me ask you this. You made the comment and you said, I'm still going with Maurer. Yeah. Is Maurer that's your prediction on who you think will start, or who you legitimately, as a Vol for Life, ex-player, whatever, that's who you think think's going to play, or who you feel is best? Does that make sense? Like, are you predicting? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So watching, I feel that he is the best fit for what's happening. I would not be upset if Bailey ends up being the starter. I think the offense is going to be a little bit different with Bailey and Maurer as starters. Like, it'll run a little bit different. But just with my eyes, what I'm seeing, what I saw at practice, what I saw yesterday, I feel like Maurer is the best fit for QB1 moving forward. But okay. I mean, I texted a QB1 that I played with and asked him, I was like, what do you think about these quarterbacks? His first response was, Bailey's out here balling. So
yeah.
I mean, it's that might be his pick moving forward. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be upset if Bailey, if Hooker starts, bearing like injury or anything, that's when I'd be upset. I don't think he is that good of a quarterback.
All right. I'm going to jump in and say this. First off, I think all three of them could be fine for us next year. I really do. At this point, at this moment, I think Heupel could get what he needed out of the three of them. As I told you, I think all three of them have some good things. And at practice that we saw, I thought they were all a little inconsistent throwing the ball. Now, yesterday, you couldn't watch that game and not think that Harrison Bailey had some very nice throws, some very good deep ball throws. And I didn't like that I read an article last night laying in bed, kind of seeing what other people were saying about this game, how he had easy throws. I was like, buddy, you still have to make the throws. That throw to Jack Jancic, the DB was in great position, and it was a great throw, great catch. He stepped up in the pocket on that one. And then the other one to Velus Jones, like he worked to the left side of the pocket and made another good throw. So I thought that was kind of discrediting him on his deep ball throws. I mean, yeah, Velus Jones was open, but he still worked in the pocket.
Hey, Garantano had some easy throws last year too. And
hey, he had some easy throws. Even like I remember the time down in Florida when we were competing with them. And it was still early in the game, and we just made a stop, and he had a tight end. I don't know if it was.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if it was.
It was just like the Velus Jones Jr. play yesterday.
Yes,
it was
yes.
right down the seam.
Yeah,
wide open.
And he airmailed it. So yeah. So yeah, whoever wrote that article, whatever, you still got to make the open throws, which is what I'm going to say here. I still think, like I said, going into next year, we could have a little bit of a quarterback carousel depending on how the fall goes, injuries, and, who's going to give us the best opportunity, at that time or whatever. I just think that Heupel made it very clear that you don't necessarily have to be a runner for his offense. And Harrison Bailey is not a stick in the mud. Like he's not he's definitely not as fast as athletic as the other two. But the one thing that I saw yesterday is that we were taking a lot of shots. And if you don't hit those shots, I don't care how fast you are or how good you are at other throws, like you have to land those shots. And it was good to see Maurer hit the second one to Jancic because he had a couple other ones earlier in the game that he missed. And so if Harrison Bailey comes out, takes care of the ball, which no one's talking about, and hits his open shots, I honestly think Heupel would roll with him. He's not going to care that he's not as mobile as the other two. So I think the quarterback thing is still definitely wide open. And maybe it's blind faith in Heupel for me that I just think whoever it's going to be, I think will still get production.
Yeah,
so,
let me ask you this, because I have a weird feeling about this. When an offense or, an offense coordinator, a head coach rotates quarterbacks and, puts different ones in throughout the game. We kind of did it. I think it was 2007 or no, 2004 when we had Schaefer and Ainge and they both played throughout the game. Do you honestly see that possibly happening? Because I look at it as a bad thing.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think I'll just say I agree with you. I think it's a bad thing. I don't like it. If you have three quarterbacks, you don't have one. So I am hoping that he picks one and that one kind of takes the lead. But I'm just saying this, like if one was to get hurt or if one had a bad game and he puts the other one in, my point is it's not a drastic fall off between 1 and 2. I mean, they're all very similar, so that can be a bad thing, but I'm going to look at it as a good thing, meaning, hey, pick the best one. Let's run with him so he gets the confidence. He doesn't have to keep looking over his shoulder. But if injuries happen or if he is just having a really bad game, we do have someone else in that can come in and hopefully give us a little bit of some juice.
Yeah, exactly. And then we haven't even seen Salter either. So that's a fourth quarterback on the roster that could be really good for us and fits the kind of offensive scheme that Heupel has. So
correct.
I mean, it's really
and listeners are going to want to ask why we're not talking about the Joe Milton kid or whatever. And it's just like, I think you and I are just saying, hey, like you made the point, so I'm not going to steal your point. He's just way behind the 8 ball.
The hill he has to climb to try and get ahead of all these other quarterbacks. Two of them in Maurer and Bailey have experience at Tennessee playing. They have all been with the offense now for 15 practices. They've all been around their teammates more. I mean, becoming a leader, QB1 is not just in the meeting room, not just out in the field, but like at lunch, at dinner, connecting with your teammates in the locker room, like becoming a leader of them to where they trust you completely when you're out there on the field. And he is so far behind that 8 ball. I mean, he's competing with 4 other guys that are already there. And I mean, it doesn't look great when, you had more interceptions than touchdowns last year. It's like, it's not, you might've came out as a 4-star, but like you have not performed well over.
Yeah. I think that's fans being fans saying, hey, he's 6'4", he's this, he's a big athlete. And listen, I'm not knocking the kid. Like, I don't know. I don't even really remember watching him at Michigan, and he might come here and do great. And if he wins the job, then that means he blew all these other guys out of the water in practice. So, hey, good for us. So I'm not knocking him. I'm just kind of like agree with you that he's way behind the 8 ball. Yeah. And I did see some people saying, hey, Heupel going out and getting this kid is telling us something about the QB room that he believes. hey, maybe that's true, and maybe he's just being smart. I always said that Jeremy Pruitt's biggest issue is that he didn't bring in enough quarterbacks because it is the most important position, and maybe Heupel saying, hell with that. I'll take every single person I can get that I think could help us win. So,
Yeah. He's got a full hand, man. Like he's got 5 quarterbacks. But yeah, I'm excited for the quarterback battle. I think it's going to be good. Let's move on to offensive line.
Got it. Go.
I really enjoyed watching it because it solidified exactly in my head who's going to be playing on Saturdays. And if you weren't able to pay attention, I'll break it down for you. So the first team offensive line that came out with Hooker, so the second drive of the game came out with Hooker. It was Darnell Wright. So from right tackle over, Darnell Wright, Cade Mays, Cooper Mays, Jerome Carvin, Dane Davis. That is going to be the starting offensive line come fall. There might be a switch with Carvin and Spraggins, depending on how they practice, how they perform during training camp, because both of them are very good guards. But that seems to be who's going to be the starting lineup. When they were in there, those starters, there was a huge difference in the productivity of the offense. Huge difference in the amount of time quarterback had, huge difference in the holes the running backs had. That touchdown that we saw, it was a counter play. Spraggins pulls around, kicks out linebacker, and you could have fit a Mack truck through there. And we scored on probably from the 10-yard line. That was the first team. Now, they only played Cade the first series, and then he was out the rest of the game. I'm guessing they're just resting him. He's had ankle issues in the past. He had them when he was at Catholic. So I'm sure it's just like, hey, we're going to, not hurt this guy even more. But that is going to be our starting offensive line in the fall. Put it in the books, write it down. Unless there's injury, that's it.
You're setting yourself up there because, hey, if Dane Davis, they talked about him yesterday and they said the coaches were high on him, but if he doesn't have a good fall, then they might have to kick, Cade back out to left or put Darnell, over to left, and then Cade's back at right tackle. But anyways,
I would see Cade going to left before Darnell. I think Darnell is a lot more comfortable at right, and they'll keep him there because when you do it, whenever you do make that switch, it is very uncomfortable to where you can't play to your fullest ability. Cade played left tackle in high school. If they're going to make a switch like that, if Dane Davis falls off, they put Cade out there, and then both the guards would be Spraggins at right, Carvin at left.
Well, and we said it on one of the other podcasts that if it is Dane Davis, that's awesome because that
coming from a walk-on and just earning his spot, earning a scholarship,
and he's still decently young too. So I mean, it's like it would be great to see that. But the other reason that it would be great to see that is because that right side of Cade and Darnell Wright, I mean, that is some big boys to run behind, and they should, really be able to kind of hold their own or move some people around. So if that's the starting 5, I would feel very happy about that. And then, like you said, if we do have to have an injury or two, hopefully it doesn't happen, but I think on the interior, we have definitely some people that could step right in and play and not miss a beat.
Yeah, so. And not diminishing any of the other offensive line that play because, love all those guys, love it. But honestly, having 3 whole offensive lines is kind of huge for a spring game. I didn't have that the entire time I was at Tennessee. We didn't have 15 total guys that could all play. Either there was injuries or we just didn't have that many. And we had, 11 scholarship guys and, a couple walk-ons, and it was, rotating stuff. But to have 15 total guys that can all play, it just, says a lot about the depth. And like you said, if somebody goes down, we have replacements. We have guys who can come in and perform. So like I said, in the offensive one, I think the O-line is they're the cowbell. They're the ones leading the charge. They're everything's going to run through that offensive line, and I think they're going to be very, very good this year.
Let me say this key word there that you just said: run. And that's a nice little segue to running backs. But let me say this. I really do think that everyone loves the high-flying Heupel offense, and I'm trusting him, but I really do think he will run the ball when he needs to and when he can and when he wants to. Yeah. And that's one thing that I was kind of saying about maybe Maurer and Hooker. If Heupel thinks that, hey, we need to have a more mobile guys to run a read option and to really run it. I mean, on one of those drives yesterday, he ran it almost every play. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I do think, hey, we're going to throw it, take our deep shots and stuff like that. But I think he's going to run the ball and try to control the line of scrimmage, which is so nice to have those big boys up front, you know?
Yeah, and people were saying that the zone read is what they were talking about the most. But if you watched, there was a lot more power and gap scheme.
Yes.
And also outside run, it was outside zone in a way, but we had a puller with it.
Right.
Like the backfield action wasn't a toss. It was an outside zone action. But we had a puller either to the center, maybe a front side guard, just depending on what the defense gave you. And those are such great plays versus a 3-4 defense versus that Bear defense, which a lot of defenses are nowadays because it gives you more guys in the box and you can protect against the run more. And you get hybrid guys on the edge that can rush but also cover. Bama runs that. Oklahoma has always run that. So, I mean, some of those really good teams run that 3-4 defense. So I love to see those plays because that's what's going to work. Zone is very difficult to run versus that. So it's good to see whenever you see somebody pulling, as a fan, we're talking to you, whenever you see somebody pulling, offensive lineman pulling, knowing that's a gap scheme, that's a counter, power, something like that. And it takes advantage of those holes that a 3-4 defense has in it.
Yeah. All right, so segue to running back.
Yes.
Bro, it's the same thing we thought. Like, I mean, I think we're going to be completely fine, whoever's in there. I mean, yesterday I heard walk on, like so many times. And it's like after a guy busted one for like 30 yards or 20 yards. Now, granted, we're not the defense yet, and we still have that feeling of, hey, this defense is going to take its lumps. Yeah. But I firmly still believe, like, it doesn't matter who at running back. I think they're going to produce. Now, I didn't tell you this yet, and I'm waiting to see your reaction. And it's tough to say because I don't want these kids to feel like that. And this is all hypothetical. Like, I'm not a coach, but I'm just saying if I was a coach and I was watching it yesterday, I would at least have to consider having a conversation with D. Beckwith and I always forget his first name, Hodge. Is it just Ty Hodge or
I think so.
from Maryville?
Yeah.
Both of those kids are obviously big, well put together kids. And if I would just have the conversation with them, like, hey, would you guys at least consider playing linebacker? Because, like, I think both of them could have a really good. If you want to go the pros or whatever, like running backs are a dime a dozen now. And at UT, do you feel like you're going to get a lot of chances or a lot of opportunities? Maybe they do. And, hey, maybe they do well and they don't get a lot of tread on the tires. They produce enough, and then they do get a chance in the league. But, like, those two guys, I mean, no one really separated themselves yesterday at running back. I thought they were all fine. Yeah. And I know D. Beckwith, everyone loves D. Beckwith because how big he is. But, like, I thought he ran fine yesterday. I didn't think he did anything special. But it's like where we are as a team, I think both those guys could kick over to linebacker and maybe make some hay there. I mean, really, when you look at a guy like D, that guy could play receiver, tight end, outside linebacker, inside linebacker. I mean, he has that natural frame. But I don't know. I just feel like we're going to be so fine at running back that it doesn't matter who you put back there, they're going to be okay. That I think both of those guys could really help the team at linebacker. But obviously, that's a Heupel decision. And even if Heupel could go to those guys and those guys not be happy and, not pan out anyways. But I don't know. It was just something I at least thought about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be tough for D, especially because he came in as a wide receiver. And then they're like, hey, can you move to running back? And then he's like, well, crap. I mean, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. I'll try. And then, this is the first time he's gotten like a full spring at running back and be able to learn that complete position. I don't know. I mean, if he played linebacker in high school, maybe has a little bit of experience, but I mean, it's a totally different ball game. I mean, playing the other side of the ball. I know he's athletic and he can move, obviously playing running back, but I don't know if he would actually be good to switch over to that side of the ball. I feel like there's just too much of a difference. There's too much, like, you are specific to one side usually, and if you're a guy that switches back and forth, because there was guys that
it hurts you
that I played with that switched back and forth, that were linebackers and then tight ends, or guys that were D line and then O line and then D line, and it's like you're not quite good enough to play either side.
Right.
Of course, we're trying to figure out what the heck you can do.
Right.
But I agree with you that no one's really stood out. No one, put themselves way above anybody else, and that we will be fine with whoever's back there. Like they kept saying, walk on, walk on, walk on during the game. I mean, going back to the offensive line, if you make freaking holes for Mack trucks to fit through, anybody can run.
But I don't want to knock the running backs though too. I thought they had nice cuts, they had nice runs, they all ran hard, but it was literally like, I mean, they were literally like 8 deep, like no joke, like literally there were maybe 6 deep, and they all looked pretty good. They all ran hard, they all made nice cuts. I thought they read their blocks well, so I'm not trying to knock them and acting like just anybody could go out there and run, but you get what I mean, that the production level is going to be fine, because even the guy that I shouted out that I wanted to see at practice, and I don't have the roster in front of me right now, but like Tyron Evans or the Evans kid from Hutchinson Community College. I mean, I was talking about how he looked like a nice little squatty body, good athlete at practice. And then yesterday he came in and ran hard and looked good. And so it's just like, I mean, every time you say, hey, I like this guy, well, then you look up on the screen and there's another one in there running. You're like, dang, I like him too.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, it was just something that crossed my mind yesterday. And, it's all about what those kids honestly really want to do and what they'd be happy doing, but then what the coaches think would maybe help. And, those coaches are smart. They would have seen that maybe already in spring practice. And,
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're hoping to work with what they have now. I mean, we talked about in the defensive one, they don't have a lot. But hopefully those guys coming off suspension can help with that.
Or transfer portal.
Yeah, or transfer portal, because there's quite a few guys, linebackers in the transfer portal that could, start right away here, which, I mean, you would think would be very interesting to them.
Yes.
But, yeah, so running backs overall, love them. We're 8 deep, we got depth. Everybody can play. It's going to be okay. We'll move to wide receivers. Now, we already talked about one with Jack Jancic and the MVP status he got from the game. But, I mean, also saw some guys that, we didn't get to see Jalen Hyatt at practice, so it was nice to see him perform and just run some good routes and be able to get open when he needs to. And Fant just – I don't know. I mean, he balled out. I mean, he caught that last touchdown, right? That was him? Or no, that was Tillman.
Yeah,
Tillman caught that last touchdown, which both of them were great out there. I thought the wide receivers did a very good job. I think there was some drop passes. I can't remember who it was. Was it Keaton that dropped that one Maurer through? He got hit, and I don't know if it was Keaton or Callaway, but they ejected the guy.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see him catch that, because that stuff is going to happen in the fall. Like, you're going to get hit like that.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to see him, catch it all the way through. But I mean, like you said in the beginning, we're throwing it downfield, deep ball, really taking advantage of the defense. And I mean, our wide receivers are winning one-on-one matchups.
Yeah. Yeah. So, after that practice, I liked what I saw from, well, obviously we didn't get to see Jalen Hyatt, but we both know what he can bring to the table. We both know he's good. So I was just happy to see him out there. If he's out there, the kid's going to be balling. I mean, we know that, but it was just good to see him out there, and running and obviously feeling good and producing like we know he can and that we need him to. And then Velus Jones, out there doing what he needed to. So we know that. But, yeah, then Ramel Keaton, who I liked at practice and made some plays. And then the Cody kid who made a nice catch. Callaway was out there making some nice catches. There was one other one. We didn't see Walker Merrill, but I feel very confident in what I saw from him that he'll be a good player for us. So once again, receiver-wise, and then, Tillman, who I mentioned in one-on-ones, was just a big body, and he made some very nice plays at practice. And so I was not surprised to see that yesterday. So receivers, running backs, we feel very confident. Tight ends, this was a very short list. Austin Pope wasn't out there. My man, Fant was balling. Nice 5-year senior out there. So it was good to see that for him. I think Jacob Warren had a nice little catch or two. So, I mean, listen, offensively, plug and play. Let's see what's up. I have faith in pretty much every group that we just mentioned. Honestly, really, I do.
Yeah. So. And they did actually use the tight ends in blocking schemes more than I thought they would. Whether pulling the guys around in the counter, cutting off the backside, or even some double teams on the front side with tackles. So wasn't expecting that. Didn't necessarily think that would happen. I thought they'd spread them out more, but they definitely used them in the run game, which I liked. I like to see that because sometimes you really can't take advantage of that. And the reason being is linebackers are worried about them going out for a pass. So it's not
correct.
They have to think of two different things they could be doing. And
agreed.
It really makes it a lot harder for the defense. So it's good to see the tight ends in the blocking scheme when we're, running those counters, powers, whatever.
I think that's a great point, honestly, because I haven't thought about that in a really long time. I know we talked about it a while ago that we hated when Jeremy Pruitt would go 5 wide because these guys could just tee off. There's not a tight end or a running back to maybe even chip. Yeah. But you're so right. Now, guys, I get it. Make fun of me for bringing this up, whatever. But in high school, when I was playing outside linebacker, and I forgot about this, it was a rule that I was coming, I could come off the edge, and everyone wants to be able to come off the edge, but the rule was, Reed, if the tight end or most of the time it was a running back, but if the running back leaks, you better pick him up. Yeah. So it's I would come off the edge, but you couldn't really fire off the edge like you wanted to, because if you shoot off the edge too much and the running back just literally bananas out or just releases out, you're screwed. And then there's so much field. So it's funny you said that, because I completely forgot about that. And you're right. These guys in college, they're like, okay, is this tight end sliding over and going to chip me and then release, or is he really blocking? And so it does hold people up. And sometimes all you need is that, half a step to get rid of a ball. So that's maybe the light bulb just went off for me, not the listeners, but I hadn't thought about that in years, but that's such a good point. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, anything that you can do to confuse the guys out there, because even a defensive coordinator can put his guys in the perfect position to make the play. But if they get confused, those individuals get confused, or they get held up for just a second on something that they think is happening, it blows open. Yeah, it's all you need. It's all you need. Yeah. So, yeah, like we said, offense looks great. It is so refreshing to see, especially since what happened last year with the offense, how mundane it was. We talked about it on the podcast before. And, shout out Jarrett Garantano for being exactly who we thought he was and throwing an interception first play at Washington State spring scrimmage. Oh, my God, you cannot write it up better than that.
I mean, of course, when it happened, I was just like, man, I just feel bad for this kid. He took such a beating here physically and from the fans. And, he brought a lot of it on himself, but then again, he's still a kid. And I think he worked hard and he tried and he cared. And he put his body on the line, but Pruitt definitely didn't help him by just keep throwing him out there and letting him make the same mistakes. But yeah, I chuckled and I was like, man, you are, there's a saying that someone told me a while ago, and it's so true, but leopards, rarely change their spots. And, that's just who that guy's going to be. So,
who's a coach from the Cardinals? We are who they thought they were. We let them off the hook.
yeah. Danny Green or Daryl Green or whatever his name was. But yeah, and offensively, we feel good about it, but we also know that it could be because of the defense not being where we want them to be. But anyways, let's go ahead and start with D-line. What did you see from the D-line?
So the bad part about it is there was a lot of guys out. Elijah's out. Greg Emerson was out. Byron Young was out. Latrell Bumphus was out. So you didn't get to see the full strength of the defensive line, which stunk. But the guys that were out there, I saw nothing in particular. Like, I didn't see any flash, any pressure on the quarterbacks, any, pressure into the backfield on a run play. It seemed very easy for the offenses to work. And it wasn't like splitting double teams. There wasn't any, pushing back. The offensive line seemed to, move that line of scrimmage 1 to 2 yards every single play. And I don't know if it's not, having Greg and having Elijah in there because, when we went to practice, Cooper said, he was like, dude, Elijah is a beast. Like, he's amazing and he's going to be really good this year. So I think he's our number one defensive lineman and he's not out there playing. It does make it, look a little bit worse. But I still think that the defensive line is the strength of our defense. I think overall our defense is not very good, but the defensive line is the strongest position we have.
So I don't know if Elijah's going to be our best. Maybe he's our best anchor. I don't know if he'll be the most productive, and maybe he will, maybe he won't. That's what I'm excited to see because I still think there's some other guys that are quality football players. The one thing I was thinking about is, is it really just the tempo of the offense? And, they probably weren't running many stunts and they didn't have all their guys. And it stood out to me that I felt like these guys pretty much had a field day. I mean, on that one long ball to Jack, Harrison did have to step up in the pocket. I saw Tyler Barron get a couple nice pressures. He had a couple also nice run stops. But, hey, when you're not at full strength in the D-line where you don't really need to rotate guys and stuff, but then again, like, they're not going to be going up against our offense every week. And what I mean by that is not saying our offense is incredible. I'm saying that how fast we go. Yeah. Potentially a lot of the other teams that we're going to play this year, I mean, some of them might be up-tempo, but I'm not sure if they're going to go that fast. But, yeah, it's just, I didn't like the fact that I didn't see a bunch of pressure. But then again, hey, you know what? They weren't at full strength. It is a spring game. Maybe they weren't all, they didn't call them any stunts. And the other thing about it is, too, is like they just meant our offensive line could be pretty decent. So I'm not going to like freak out yet because there still are some dudes on the D line that I think can be pretty decent.
Yeah, and I had mentioned it, I think in the offensive one or the defensive one. What I wanted to see out of the defense for the spring game was them winning one-on-one matchups. Now, I know they're not going to be that great, but if I can see a linebacker shedding a block, if I can see a defensive end, ripping underneath the tackle and getting somewhat pressure on the quarterback, if I can see a DB breaking on a ball and getting an interception like what was his name? Burrell did versus Hooker. Like, I liked to see that. I didn't think that, was Hooker not reading it right. I think it was Burrell just making a play and jumping on that ball. So as long as you can see some of those things, which I think we did, like you said, with Tyler Barron, just like winning a one-on-one matchup versus a tackle in pass pro, then it gives you faith moving forward, going into the season.
I agree, and I'll hit my point on that towards the end after we finish each position group. But yes, I know what you mean. Okay, linebackers. What did you see before I go in on this?
Yeah, so the biggest thing I saw was just them being out of position. I mean, I just mentioned it before of how a tight end can confuse a linebacker and then not necessarily know, what is going to happen on the play. Is it going to be a pass? Is it going to be a run? But there was just so many times, I mean, where they're over pursuing, they're not in the gap where they're supposed to be, and a running back just has full head of steam to a DB. Like a DB shouldn't be making all the tackles on a running back. It's just that is a linebacker being out of position and not holding his gap. And as a linebacker, you need to understand, like, where is this guy? Where is the offensive lineman or tight end or whoever blocking me trying to lead me? Like, where is he wanting me to go? And I felt like they were going exactly where we wanted them to as an offense. I mean, it was just, the Red Sea just splitting open a lot of times. And and there was a lot of passes over the middle that I feel like they could have been there for, that they could have helped with, that they didn't necessarily see. Now, that Velus Jones Jr. pass that was up the seam, I don't know if that was on the linebackers. I kind of think that was either like they were in the nickel defense and, that was a DB problem. But,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is the weakest part of our entire team is linebacker, and it definitely showed on Saturday.
So I'll start positive. I thought P.A. Garland looking swaggy out there. I thought he was flying around. He actually looked a little bit bigger on TV than he did in practice. Yeah, than he did in practice or in person. Because after that practice, I came home, read about him, and I think he even came in as a safety, and they moved him up. But he was flying around. And Solomon Page, number 38, I thought he was flying around making some plays. I saw that they had Morvin Joseph coming off the edge a lot more. When we were at practice, they had him working they had him working more in the middle. He was working in the middle the entire practice. So yesterday they had him coming off the edge a lot.
And I don't know if that had anything to do with, Byron Young not being out there, and they kind of needed some depth at right. Like a DN outside linebacker position.
Correct. And that could just be because they think Morvin Joseph and Byron Young are two of the better athletes to get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
But I saw some guys, I saw a couple of those guys flying around. Jeremy Banks wasn't out there. Like you said, the suspended guys, maybe we get some transfers, whatever. But I would just see, and the guys that were there who are not the SEC caliber players that we've already talked about, they were playing hard and they were doing their best to be in position, but they're just not the size or speed that we need. And where I really noticed that is in the run fits. Like they were getting, like the offensive linemen were getting up to the second level at probably 3 or 4 or 5 yards. And those linebackers didn't have a chance. Like when those guys when they got their hands on them, I mean, those linebackers would stick their neck in there and try to take them on. But it was like me trying to take somebody on. It was literally like, 6'1", a 215-pound person, like trying to take on like Cooper or Cade or
I mean, some of them are, 320. Like Cade's 325. Like it's
right.
It's not going to happen.
Right. So it's like they're trying to take them on, but they're just not. Like, and if you can't even at least hold the line of scrimmage as a linebacker, then they want linebackers to get in the backfield, but if you can't even hold the line of scrimmage, you're in trouble. So, anyways, I did see some guys flying around. We're definitely going to be in the kind of that like 4-2-5 type deal or nickel, whatever you want to call it, a lot this season, if I had to guess. And I even saw them bringing some safeties up, and we basically looked like we had 3 linebackers, but one of them was a safety.
Yeah. But I don't know if they're actually going to like give away everything that they're going to do this year. Like I didn't see a lot of blitzes happening. They're not like running all of the things that they possibly could because you don't want to give it away to everybody. I mean, as an offense, it's different. Every offense out there has zone run, has an outside zone, has a counter, has a power, has slants, has posts, like everyone knows that you have those plays. Not everyone knows exactly what blitzes you like to run as a defense. So you kind of keep that, to your chest, chest your cards. So But and another thing that, you don't necessarily think about, but with Elijah and Greg out, a lot of the job of a defensive lineman is to keep the offensive lineman off the linebackers. Take on those double teams where they can't get off to the linebacker and leaves him wide open to hit the running back. So, you got your second to third string defensive line in there. It does make the jobs harder for the linebackers. So,
agree. I think it's a great point. Elijah is the quintessential eat some blocks up, free the linebackers up to run, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We knew what they were going to be. I thought they all competed and played hard. Like I said, I saw a couple little flashes, but it's just you got to have some bodies. All right. Lastly, I'll let you start with DBs and see what you thought.
Yeah. So, I mean, the worrisome part is that Jack Jancic is, an MVP versus our defense. Now, there was a lot of scenarios where it was one-on-one, which we got into a lot last year, and I didn't really like because I wholeheartedly believed our DBs were not good enough for one-on-one and we needed safety help. And why not just do that? If you understand who your players are, understand their strengths and weaknesses, and know they're not going to win a one-on-one matchup, give them help. That, it doesn't matter. Like, it does not matter if you're just like, I want to run this scheme. I want to do one safety high because the offense needs to, not know what we're doing. It doesn't matter if the guy beats them for a 70-yard touchdown. So I think there is some learning to have here, just understanding who your players were. I like to see Alontae Taylor back out there because, like we said, we didn't get to see him practice when we went in. But at the same time, like, Alontae got beat versus Tillman on that last touchdown.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Yeah.
So it's like, man, I love how aggressive Alontae is and how he is a leader, like we said before. But as a leader, as our number one DB in the crunch time of a game, you can't get beat like that. Even though Tillman is a great player, you can't get beat like that.
Yeah, I thought Alontae actually had some nice come up plays and had a nice hit, had a couple nice stops.
I said, I mean, he's an aggressive corner, and he's not afraid to make a tackle, which a lot of corners are.
Right, but it just it stunk to see that. But then again, like, give Tillman a lot of credit. It wasn't like he just ran, caught it super easy. Alontae was nowhere to be found. I mean, Tillman had to lay out, make a heck of a catch in the corner. But one thing I noticed is, like, it looks like with Heupel, if he sees he's got one-on-one on the outside, he's chucking it. Like, he's taking the shots. Because if you take 8 to 10 shots a game, well, all it takes is 3 or 4 to complete that you could potentially change the game. Keep these defensive honest, because I felt like last year some defenses were just they were just swarming in on us. They were pressing up, and then it was like they were just eating on us and dictating to us, and we weren't keeping them necessarily too honest. Okay, DBs, what I saw. Like I said, I saw Alontae come up, make a couple nice hits. You're right. I didn't like see him get beat there. Danico Slaughter did have that nice hit, which he got ejected, but then came back in because you don't get ejected from a spring game.
Yes, exactly.
But he had some nice plays, and I saw some nice tackles. He had that nice hit. I thought Trey Flowers was a guy who came up a couple times in some run support stuff that made some plays. Obviously, Warren Burrell had the nice break on the ball, had the pick six. You love to see that. And a guy that really stood out to me, give me a second. I've got the roster pulled up because he kind of flashed. And like I said, I'm not a huge recruiting guy, so I don't remember when we necessarily signed him. It's I don't even know. Tamarain McDonald. I don't even know how to say his first name. It's terrible. I mean, I hate that. But I was like, who is this guy? And, like, pretty big boy. And then supposedly he came in as a linebacker. They moved him back to safety, but he was coming up, making some pops, making some hits, looked like a good athlete, good sized kid at safety. And I was really impressed with him, which I wish I would have known more about him and watched him at practice. At practice. If we go back in the fall, I'll keep an eye on him. But I mean, I think this is his second year in the program. But I thought he made some really nice plays and thought that, like I said, he really stuck out. Yeah, okay. So he's one of those West Tennessee Memphis kids. I love that,
Yeah.
So that was great to see. I thought he kind of caught my eye. There was one other guy too, Edwards, I think, number 7. And sorry for the show prep. This is what you guys get when I. Okay, yeah. So he's a redshirt junior, Romello Edwards. He kind of stuck out to me. I mean, he made some nice plays. Like every time I would look up, I felt like he was there. Tank, I think Tank had one or two nice plays, but I just felt like when we had the ones in there, it was much different compared to when the 2s or 3s were in there. Anyways, some of those guys stuck out. Like I said, I think McDonald was the one that definitely, stood out maybe the most to me, just because I didn't know him. And so, like, he kind of flashed and made some plays.
And, I mean, we said it, but, like, the biggest conversation going forward is going to be, is our defense that bad or is our offense that good? Now, do you think the success of our offense was, Heupel calling the great plays and getting matchups, the wide receivers just being super athletic and beating the DBs, or the DBs just not being what we thought and being good enough players? Like, what of those three would you think made the difference? Because, in my opinion, I think Heupel offense probably made the difference when you talked about it earlier, the one-on-one matchups and taking advantage of it. I'm sure he told the quarterbacks, he goes, look, if we're running a play and you see one-on-one, throw it. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Jack Jancic out there. Throw the ball. It's a one-on-one. So, I mean, maybe that is what made the difference and made it look like, wow, our DBs are getting cooked.
Tamarian, I think is how you pronounce it. Tamarian McDonald.
Okay.
I've been sitting here staring at it like, hey, don't be a big idiot. But yeah, so I think it's Tamarian McDonald. But yeah, so I'd love to see that. I agree with you. We'll wait and see how they play against some other, some other competition besides our offense. Anyways, to tie everything in, I don't know why, because I'm just not ever a sheep. Like, I don't get excited, and maybe it is because I'm doing this podcast with you, and so I'm always a huge fan, but I try to wait and see what my eyes tell me. Yeah. But then I got to go to practice, and then I'm more in touch with the spring game, and, usually I'm more just let me watch the fall, see what I think. But I still think first off, I don't know why, but I just have a different vibe and a different feeling with Heupel. And I just feel like the guy knows what he wants. And clearly he's been a head coach. He knows how to run a program. Like, I don't know why. I just like him. And I do feel different. Not to say that I think it's going to result in wins. So I'm not one of those sheep that are like, oh my gosh, we're going to be in the SEC championship next year. Like, I don't think that, but like, I do like the vibe. I do like the feel. It seemed like a lot of those guys were just having fun yesterday. And, but anyways, I'm still not going to say that I think the offense is going to be incredible, because I do think that this defense could be another Sal Sunseri defense. But my point is, hopefully, with the way we can score and scheme, if we do get a pick six, if we do get one sack, if we do get one fumble, if you just make one or two stops, if you even just get a 1/4 and 4 or 3 and out and a punt, I think that could be very, very big for this team. Now, and I'm saying against Pittsburgh. I mean, I think Pittsburgh is the biggest game of the year. I think if you come out and do what you need to do against Bowling Green, which I think is still going to be a tough game. I'm going to tell you right now, if we beat Bowling Green, your boy's going to be dumb hype. Like, I'm going to be fired. I'm going to be fired up. But that game against Pittsburgh, you come in, that's a legit team for where we are right now.
Yeah.
So bring them in, Nalen's rocking. And if we can beat that team and we just have, like I said, one sack, one pick, one change of possession, one flip the field. I think that might be all that we need. Give up all the yards that we want to give up and all that, but if you can just contain the amount of points and just get one or two turnovers for this offense, I think hopefully, because you're not going to be probably in a battle of a 17-14, 21-17 game. I mean, these are going to be 40s, 50s, 40, 50, 60 shootouts. So get your one stop, double them up, and then they're playing from behind.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's just what we need.
Yeah, because it makes a big difference when you're playing from behind, ahead, close. Like, you change up your entire offense, you change up your defensive scheme. So if we can make a team uncomfortable by just scoring a lot and getting, one turnover, and I mean, we didn't get to see it, but like, special teams can make a huge difference too. Like, we don't get to see that during the spring game. You don't like at practice, you don't get to see like full reps of it. So who knows? Maybe we have a great special teams and just like, we have great kick returners and they take touchdowns back, and it's, something that makes a huge difference in the game. So,
well, I mean, field position, people don't want to talk about it, but if you really want to nerd out on football, field position is so big. Like, I never understood that really when I was younger growing up watching games. But if you can really, and it doesn't make as big of a difference now because of these high-flying offensive stuff. Yeah. But if you really can pin somebody back, play the field position game, and I really do think Heupel is going to run the ball more than people expect. I think he knows how to try to control a game and how to control the tempo and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I would agree. And I agree completely with what you said. There's a different aura. There's a different feel about the whole thing. And, I guess we kind of had this when Pruitt came in and Butch to the left, and it was such a complete opposites they are.
Yes.
It was, you felt better because it was such an opposite with Pruitt. But the biggest thing is how much the players are enjoying themselves. I mean, quote after quote after quote of guys being like, I'm just having a ton of fun out here.
Right.
I love being around this family atmosphere. I love hanging out with these guys. It's, so much fun being here. I mean, the fact that the scoring was so strange during the spring game that like you didn't know who was scoring for what team, and it was kind of hard to keep up with. But even though that happened, Tillman scores a touchdown at the end. The whole offensive side rushes him.
Right.
They love it. They're there for their teammate, even though it's like, wait, did we win? Did the White win? Like, I don't – who did that count for? Like, you don't even understand that, but you're just so excited that your teammate made a great play and he scored, and it's just a whole community, family feeling to it, which is so much better than this cold, closed-off feeling that you got when Pruitt was there.
Yeah.
So,
and listen, that family atmosphere, all that stuff's great, and I know I'm the biggest proponent. I speak for all those people who are like, hey, that stuff's great, but we want to win games. But we're not at that point right now. So I do want these kids to have fun, and I want there to have the best college experience they can have, because I already know we're not going to win a bunch of games, next year. And they're probably going to take some really big lumps on some of these games where they probably get blown out. Yeah. But, hey, I do want to say this real quick, though, before we finish up, because I've been meaning to do this for I always forget, but I've been meaning to do this because I want to shout out a few people, like friends and stuff, that have been reaching out to us or to me about it. But and you're going to obviously know some of these people, but I personally really, really appreciate it because they listen, they give us honest feedback. And so I'm just going to read off these names real quick. First off, Nathan Gibson, my Bash bro, he is always asking when the podcast is coming out, always listening, giving feedback. So Nathan Gibson.
Shout out Nathan.
Then Ryan Ridley, our man, our QB1, Ryan Ridley. He's always reaching out. He's always talking. He's always listening. I appreciate it, and I love getting to hear from him because I don't get to see or talk to him as much. Blast from the Past, great guy, great athlete, but I hadn't talked with him in a while, was Taylor Broussard. Reached out, said he was listening.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, dang. And he said, hey, I love listening to the two of you guys and just the people I know.
A shout out from someone in the past also. I had Nick Branham reach out to. Yeah, he was like, I love hearing. He was like, I love your new co-host. Whenever you came on,
Yeah.
He shouted out. He's like, "I love your new co-host." I was like, "Oh, yeah,
Dude,
I'm sure you would."
Yeah, bro. Nick was the man. I love Nick. I haven't talked to him in a long time. He was the dude, though. But yeah, I'm trying to think. So those are some of the guys that always reach out and always say that they've listened and how much, that little stuff like that. Like Philip Ikas reached out, said that he listened and checked it out. And I know I'm probably forgetting one or two, and I'll shout them out again next week. But those are just some of the guys that are always like, "Hey, good job. These are the points we liked." We're always listening. So it's appreciated. It really, really is.
It is.
So.
It goes a long way. And I can probably speak for Reed when I say this. The best way that I grow, that I learn, that I become better at whatever I'm doing is like it is someone telling me, "Hey, this is what's going on." And that's just me naturally being coached for, since I was 8 years old in football. It was just, "Hey, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you need to do right." And that coaching atmosphere, it's like learning from a coach. That's the best way that I learned. So I love to hear feedback from people. So it's awesome for them to reach out. Now, a lot of them we went to high school with, so maybe it's like a little bit of bias, like we're just getting those guys, but we still very much appreciate it. And, if anybody else, any other fans, I know my family loves to reach out to me and tell me how I did. But they're usually biased also. But any fans, anybody, reach out, tell us how we're doing, tell us what you want to hear about. I mean, we would love to talk. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, there's a couple other too. And it's appreciated that they reach out and stuff like that. So anyways, all right, brother. Well, next time, I guess, hopefully we'll have, we're still working on a couple good guests. Not actually, they've kind of already said that they would do the podcast. We've just had stuff that we've wanted to talk about, so we haven't reached back out to them about coming on.
Yeah, exactly.
Soon, and then we'll have plenty of time to dive into all the other recruiting stuff. So
yeah, we'll schedule some stuff here in the future for sure. But I appreciate you guys listening, watching. If you're watching on YouTube, please rate and subscribe, like and subscribe. Podcast is presented by Bet Online, so check them out. You can follow us on social media. I'm at Kyler Kerberson, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Reed, your Twitter is
RBacon27, I think, or maybe RBacon26.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So RBacon26 for Reed on Twitter. And let us know if you have anything you want to ask, topics you want to touch on. Like I said, you can email us believein tennesseefootball@gmail.com. or text and call at 865-322-9232. And we'll definitely answer some of that stuff for you. So appreciate you guys coming out. As always, go Vols.